Hello, I have a tarot reading for the month of February, a general reading for Leos. Um, Thank you for returning if you were here last time. If not, welcome. Please check out my introductory videos, which will tell you a little bit about how the tarot readings go and how I approach the art and all that. And without further ado, I'll get into the reading for Leo today. So for today, it looks like maybe there might be some passion going on or something here. But what we have is a general feeling of impoverishment. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean material impoverishment, even though it's coins. It means more in like just the physical realm. So there could be a impoverishment of significant other energy or that type of thing, an emotional impoverishment. But it also has the energy that this is your doing, that this is your refusal to see the situation in a different light, or there is help for whatever you're deficient in your immediate environment for you to utilize, but you're not doing it. You're self-imposing this feeling of lack in your life. And we have what's influencing you, the Fool. So what this means is that whatever the situation you're in where you're feeling impoverished, you really have impoverished yourself. So this is the most possibility, the most potential in any of the cards in the deck is the Fool. It's the first card in the major arcana, and it suggests sort of going through. It's at a point where you're like, you know what, I don't care, and you just go. You know what I mean? Like you're just going off into the world, inhibitions completely gone. You know, that type of thing. Um, so it's a wonderful place to go to be. Sometimes it wouldn't be good to be there all the time, but it's a wonderful place to be sometimes where you're just it's raw discovery and this feeling that you're just going to charge off and see what happens next. You know, it's like you can't really go down, or you have a feeling like you can't really go down. I mean, obviously you could, but you're not happy with your situation. So anything to you at this point would probably be a refresher or a breather, you know. In the past, what we see is the Hanged Man, which is inaction, you know, that type of thing. You may be one of these people who has all these thoughts about how things could be fixed, and you have all these ideas, but it almost feels like something is just freezing your hand from actually doing it. You try so hard, and it's just something's holding you back. You know, you're just sort of forced to sit there and wait. People won't cooperate or communicate right. You're just sort of in a necessary place of resignment and sitting back and watching how things are going. So for the future, we have the Wheel, which is very, in a way, it's very similar to the Fool. It's sort of saying anything can happen, you know, that this is a period where you're about to discover a new direction, where you're, you know, sort of deprived or deficient in some area in your life. And so because of that, the universe is just going to sort of give you a new path. Something new is going to come along or something like that. Um, and or a new idea, perhaps, a new way of thinking about things, or that's really what it is. It doesn't always necessarily mean external environment changes. It can mean just the way that you feel about things. So in other words, the way that you feel about things today will not necessarily be how you think about them, you know, 2 weeks from now or a year from now or whatever. So because the karmic wheel is always in motion and your life is always changing, your perspective is always changing and things like that. If you're a healthy, growing person who is, in fact, moving, things are going to look different. So it doesn't do well to cling to any particular outcome or anything like that. I know a lot of people will try to tell you to think really positive and to stick to the positive side of the wheel and stuff like that. I don't agree in sticking to the wheel at all. I feel as though, if anything, what you're really doing is just not trying to interfere with the process of the wheel going at all. Because if you try to interfere with it on one side, then you end up having the opposite effect on the other side, and in reality, just totally not resisting and letting the wheel flow is what you're going for, in my opinion. And so what that would look like is, let's say you're watching TV and a really sad ad comes on that makes you feel really sad, you know? Feel it. Don't resist the feeling of sad. Don't say, oh, I don't want to feel that way. This is fake, and all that. Feel it totally. And, I get to a point sometimes when I'm really getting good at this. Sometimes I can go through, just watching the ads between YouTube videos, I can go through the gambit of emotions. You know what I mean? I can cry. I can be joyful and happy, And it's funny because clinically people might refer to that type of emotional instability as instability, right? As a disorder, as like a bipolar disorder or something like that. In reality, what you're doing is you're simply allowing yourself to be affected. It's not always under people's control, so it's not always allowed to be affected, but you're being affected by the world around you. And a person who has hardened themselves and who basically sits there while the world's going to shit around them and is just sitting here like, well, whatever, they're hardened, so they're not feeling the emotions of the events that are occurring around them. And so they may look at you as weird if you do feel things, And that's sort of the general mindset that our culture has come into. So it's a very big possibility. But in the foundation of the situation, or in your subconscious mind, it can be too. We have the Seven of Swords. Now, the Seven of Swords is normally what it's involved with is deceit, or getting away with something unknown, or something like that. So in your subconscious mind, this means pretty obviously that your subconscious is putting you through some trials, or the poverty that you're in. You're self-imposing this in some way. It's happening because your subconscious is directing it that way. And your subconscious is not going to really let you in on the clue, because it can't, because it would give away the show. It's creating a show for you in order to prove to you a point, or to get you to realize something, or to get you to understand something. So maybe I think about like love, for example. This sort of infatuation that you feel when you're a young person falling in love, or whatever. It's something that is not necessarily always there in a mature relationship. And that's not to say it's never there, but it's not always there. And so you have to figure out ways of motivating yourself to want to be with that person, other than just that feeling, just that one raw emotion that is a part of your relationship with another human being, So that's what you're going through right now, essentially. What's on your mind, or in your crowning thoughts, is the Queen of Swords. And of all the cards in the deck, the Queen of Swords may be one of the least emotionally sensitive, right? So she's thinking a lot. She's got a very, very strong intellectual ability and control over her mind and things like that. But what she's totally being blind to is sort of the emotional appeal. So in other words, when you look for like a mate or something like that, you may put a picture in your mind of like a really beautiful individual, and like what it would be like to be physically involved with a person like that, and all that kind of thing. And all those images may cross your mind, but what's less likely to cross your mind is to imagine the actual feeling of the situation that you're in. And if you do that, if you start to imagine the feeling rather than the details, you find that the details that you were searching for are sort of unnecessary for the feeling that you're searching for. The feeling is something that you can choose to feel. But choose is not even a good word. I don't like to use that word, because if you don't perceive that something is a choice, then I don't really believe it's a choice. Like people say addiction is a choice. Well, does a human being have the ability to, say, put down a drink instead of take it and drink it? Yeah, I think a human does have that ability. But what if he loses the perception that he has that ability? Then does he really have the ability anymore? Well, you'd say no. But then people get just testy and combative and say that they don't want to believe that a person is telling the truth, that they're just wanting to drink or something like that. That's unfortunate, but you get the point. So, being that as your crowning thoughts, as your conscious intention here, just simply pay attention how people are feeling around you. Pay attention to the longing or the way. Not everybody who's showing you a tremendous amount of love is showing you that love in the format that you are used to, or that you determine is the ideal format, So just be aware of that, Your advice for the situation is to institutionalize. And this may mean pop the question. This may mean, get married. It may mean to sort of officialize a casual relationship that you've had. It could mean to put down your thoughts and goals onto paper, to plan this thing out and put real systems into effect in order to accomplish those goals. So it can also mean for you to seek an authority. Whatever you're worried about, don't cursorily, don't arbitrarily just cast out whole institutions that you happen to disagree with based on some sort of ideological difference. Listen to the wisdom of experience in these people. Learn to take what they're saying with a grain of salt, and you'll get a lot of value out of it, For your current environment, we have the Two of Wands. And, sorry, the glare is a little bad on these. The Two of Wands is sort of involved with planning for the future. It's being careful and thinking big picture rather than like moment to moment, So in other words, try not to imagine the benefits of a situation based on how they currently would affect you, like what's going on like right now, or how it makes you feel right now. And keep in mind that everything in this current situation that you're in is probably like more of a positive than you realize, and so it's a little bit easier for you to devote to it, to commit to it, not knowing the feeling. You know what I mean? So in other words, a person would normally say, like, trust your gut, right? So perhaps in this situation, there's not really much of a gut feeling. You don't know. You don't know, It's not a strong reaction really either way. And I think that may be the ideal situation for you. Because if you really, really know something, it's like almost like you don't know. You're trying to convince yourself. So you're constantly thinking, I can go, this is going to happen this way. I had set these specific expectations and all that. And it never really works exactly how you think it is. But so what you're really trying to do, or what's going on in your environment, is sort of a greater thought about the future. And I think that what you'll find, well, first of all, your fears card is the Two of Cups. All right, and so this is sort of that emotionally balanced relationship. So it's one in which the two people involved are thoroughly interested or invested in the success of one another. It's and emotionally too. So in other words, you respect each other's emotions. You're not going to cause stupid, silly arguments just to prove a point, or just to feel a certain way or something like that. It's an emotionally balanced and healthy type of relationship, very supportive. It just may not be as interesting as you imagined it would be. It may not be as sort of passionate or fiery, but it's still a very good thing for you. So keep that in mind, that don't necessarily think that it always has to be the other person who is the journey. Sometimes you and the other person can go on the journey together, and that's a wonderful way to spend part of your life with another human as well. So keep that in mind. What I see for the overall message is the Ace of Cups, which is saying that a huge opportunity, and the Two of Cups was your fears right before, a huge opportunity is presented before you here. You have the opportunity to feel very emotionally fulfilled, but what you're going to need, you can't do this by yourself. Like what you've been doing, it's not got legs. You have the thoughts and the wills and the desires, but you need somebody who has the practicality and the wisdom and all that type of thing, sort of a partnership, a good partnership. You've got to learn to trust and devote. You got to get over this fear of commitment, because if you do, you'll find that there's like incredible emotional fulfillment all around you, and it's really just you that's preventing yourself from feeling it, and you don't want to do that. Nobody wants to do that. So overall, really great message. This one ran a little bit longer than I thought it would. If you have any questions or comments, leave them, and I will try to get back to you. I always try to make changes for people in the format as well, or anything like that. So just let me know, and I will see you next time. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.